2023 Acura Integra A-Spec. This is some horse flare, non-con RP shenanigans here, Honda. I'm not mad, just disappointed. Also completely livid. Honda is denying us manual transmissions unless we pay up, sucker, for the higher trim levels. Only there, up there, are manual transmissions available as an option. Oh, you want to buy your way back into your Acura Integra memories from the 90s? And you want to feel that perfect Honda manual? Well, pay up, sucker. Today's episode of Regular Car Reviews is sponsored by Factor. Factor makes meeting your nutrition goals easier than ever by delivering fresh, never frozen, dietitian-approved meals right to your doorstep. The team of gourmet chefs create each meal using only ingredients with integrity to help you feel your best all day long.
So my favorite meal that they have so far is the loaded chicken. It's got bacon in it and stuff. And lately, what's been going on is, this is real professional me, isn't it? Eating on camera, but it's so good I can't stop. Is I got the beginnings of RCR's road trips, like a first proto one that's coming up. So I'm planning that right now. So lately I just got back from the gym and I know it's late, and here's like Mr. Regular's get in shape tip for you. Don't eat before you go to bed. Let me phrase that. Don't eat too much before you go to bed. What is it, 9? Joe Ligo from Auto Moments is behind me. You can turn the camera around and say hi.
Oh shoot, I didn't realize there's a screen on the front.
Yeah, go pose. Welcome to the modern century.
Factor supports wholesome eating made simple. Their menus are uploaded weekly and include 27 plus meals and 33 add-on options. Choose your favorite meals or let Factor craft your order based on your taste preferences and meal history. They offer keto, calorie smart, chef's choice, vegan plus, veggie options, which include seafood, meat, and plant-based meals.
So I'm working later and I'm going to the gym later and I got tummy hungry, and I know I shouldn't be eating a full meal because that's what my brain wants because I just got working out, but Factor has the correct amount of food, just a little bit, a correct amount of calories for me to eat this. I'll still go to bed a reasonable hour. I'm not going to stay up really late. If you eat not a lot at night, you'll go to bed quicker and you'll sleep sounder and you'll rebound faster from the workout that you should be doing.
Your meal is delivered fresh, never frozen to your door. Just heat, eat, and enjoy. Factor meals can be heated in the oven or microwaved in minutes. Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code REGULAR50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. Once again, head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code REGULAR50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. The greatest thing about Hondas are how they used to offer manual transmissions on base levels as well as high trims, and luxury brands as well. The slickness and notchy and satisfying ASMR clickness of Hondas was what defined them as enthusiast cars. When people ask me for car brand advice, the answer is always Toyota, of course, unless the words manual transmission come up. 3 times out of 4, Honda takes precedent over Toyota. Even during Honda's senioritis period from 2000 to 2010, when their build quality took a turn for the Nissan, their manual transmissions were still the best on the planet. Yes, better than Lotus. For the price of a used Civic or Fit, any automotive enthusiast could get a taste through your hand and foot of what supercar engagement felt like. Honda's manual transmissions sold them as the everyday enthusiast car brand. And you selfish corpos took that from us, robbed that from us. And what did you leave us in base trims? A CVT. Even in this A-Spec trim, A-Spec these nuts, no manual available. I'm all excited to drive the new Acura Integra, and all I got is a speck of pre coming out. 2023 Acura Integra. The official car of Phoenixville residents who tell people they're from Philadelphia because if you have to say you're from Philly, you're not from Philly. You know, if the Kia Forte GT is a challenger to the Honda Civic Si, then the Acura Integra A-Spec might as well be its twin brother in a Canadian tuxedo. Because Honda is trying to say, we built a Civic you can take to a black-tie charity dinner. But this is luxury in the same way getting punched by a leather-gloved hand is more luxurious than getting rocked by a bare fist. Yes, this is the same L15CA engine as the Civic Si. It's a 1.5-liter turbo delivering the same 200 horsepower and 190 pound-feet of torque. But oh, what's this? A liar's gearbox. A continuously variable transmission that fake shifts. A CVT is most efficient and fastest when it rises to the torque curve and stays there. But no, you gotta appease the Karens and Kens of the world and have that CVT pause as if there's clutch packs in there. Because, my car's not shifting. I gotta feel like it's a real transmission, man. Anyway, you're powerful enough to stop this, Honda. You should be anyway. You're solvent, right? You don't need to gouge people who want a manual transmission. You don't have to lock it behind a tech package like a pay-to-win mobile game. Shame on you. What are you doing here, Honda? What have you done? What are you helping to perpetuate in these hot streets? Watching CVTs catch on while manual transmissions die out is like watching a preventable tragedy in real time. You see teenage little Donnie playing with matches again out back. You see him moving closer to the gasoline-soaked pile of driftwood that cousin Frank Bob Jr. left by the outhouse to use in his stunt for his backyard wrestling federation. You see Donnie climb onto the outhouse, light a match, and do a Jeff Hardy dive onto a red-hot pile of flaming hindsight as the kid goes up like a Penn State transit bus anytime they lose to Michigan State. And everyone will rush to douse the flames with whatever's on hand. So you have the cookout crew of guys who aren't welcome at the VFW anymore, and they're pouring Natty Light and pocket sand, while Mama Higgins cries out loud about how impossible it was for anybody to have seen this coming, all while everyone stands around not calling 911. CVTs are the match lighting the manual transmissions on fire, while committing the cardinal sin of pretending to be the thing it's killing, which I guess makes manuals the driftwood. But then maybe this analogy doesn't work at all. Okay, let's see. Maybe it's saying in 1993, we don't need a new Nirvana album because we have Silverchair. No, because Silverchair rocks. That doesn't work. All right, how about this? CVTs in place of manuals is like saying we don't need RoboCop 87, we have RoboCop 2014. CVTs are here to stay now, with their Pinocchio shifting. Resentment growing like the nose of a dishonest wooden child. CVTs are Liquid Snake pretending to be Master Miller. There we go. 2023 Acura Integra A-Spec. The official car of gatekeeping manual transmissions. And the reason I'm so salty is because Honda fooled me. When I took my test drive, I thought this was a traditional torque converter box.
You could almost be, since a 7-speed on a 4-cylinder, you could almost be forgiven for thinking it's a CVT down there. Unless it is. Is it?
It's a CVT.
You son of a bitch. You fooled me.
But then, are we being fair to CVTs and their paddle-shifting slushbox function? Or are we just butt-sore about having to pay a manual tax for the privilege of controlling the thing we're already paying close to a mid-5 figures for? Probably both, if we're honest. Because if we look at things objectively, CVTs were sort of driven not by any one company, but by an energy crisis that went nearly hand in hand with the economic collapse that put Chrysler and GM on the ropes in 2008. And when you have an energy crisis, gas prices go up, and the CAFE regulations get tighter. And car companies needed to find a way to lighten up their cars without sacrificing the necessary features and power consumers had come to expect. After all, you still need the power to haul around all the safety stuff, like rollover protection and side impact bars. So you needed bigger or more powerful engines, at the same time getting better fuel economy. So they started messing with new transmissions, and we ended up with CVTs. The CVTs are more efficient than torque converter transmissions. They are direct drive, after all. You get only the revs you need for the right amount of fuel economy and for the amount of acceleration you're asking of the car at the time. It's like sex without getting the stamina boost pre-game jerk. You're only hitting 5 minutes, tops, before your girlfriend ends up in the White City. But even then, it's not like we can entirely blame this on these times trademark, since CVTs have been around forever. They've been in everything from tractors to snowmobiles. In fact, the first mass-produced car to use a CVT was made in 1958 on the DAF 600. Even Honda's use of CVTs predates the mid-2000s, as they started futzing around with them in the Honda Civic HX in 1995. CVTs were even banned in Formula One for being too fast. Yeah, how about that? Because CVTs can just rise to the peak torque and just stay there and adjust the gear ratios, infinitely. And they don't suffer from the same parasitic loss that comes from a torque converter, or even the minor fractions of a second between gears in a PDK. But then, we're not really calling for CVTs to go away entirely, I'm not saying that. Just that automakers don't use CVTs as an excuse to justify locking manual transmissions behind a paywall because, well, the CVT is close enough. But then you have to get into the whole argument of how manual transmissions are justified, since the only reason a car company might still offer the option is so that they can get the price high enough to make that money back that they spent to produce them, and more specifically, the extra tooling needed and the extra parts and logistics to have 2 different transmissions available. And that's really what it's about. You can make a car a whole hell of a lot cheaper if there's only 1 transmission. That streamlines everything in the production process. So I get what they're doing, but I don't like it. Well, if you want us to do extra work, you have to pay. If you want us to put in the other transmission, it's a few thousand more dollars. We're going to keep it up here on the higher trim levels because those people are going to spend the money anyway. And enthusiasts now, who are all horny for the cars of the 90s, are middle-aged now, so they got the money to pay a few $1,000s. So F them, right? Well, Matt's reporting he gets an average about 36 miles per gallon with this Integra. That's slightly better than the 27-city 37 highway of the manual transmission one. I guess if we look at this thing as just a car, yes, a CVT is more efficient when you're just putzing around. But this is an Integra. It's supposed to be a sports sedan. I can't... Yes, the CVT makes the car lighter. You don't have to have a clutch. You don't have to have extra linkages. It feels like the same song sung by a cover band endorsed by the original band. And by the way, has there ever been a marriage saved by dual-zone climate control? Things that I like. I like the joystick vent controls. I like the new take on the 3 HVAC knobs with little screens in the middle. I like the super tall hatch. That's nice, but I can hear John Davis's voice saying that the liftover angle is tall. But with the seats down, it is cavernous inside. I don't know. It's a good car, but it's such a bummer that it's not a better car. Because I experienced the manual transmission version of these on the upper trim levels. And you know what? It was great. It was everything I wanted about the new Integra that felt like the old Integra. It was great. And then they told me how much they had to pay for it. And I'm like, really? Really? You had to have the Integra name. It's like getting on a roller coaster and having to pay extra money to go over the first hill. Otherwise, you got to get off at the top. Without the manual transmission, what do you have to show off with the Integra? I mean, you can just maybe try to impress people by just explaining all the features it has. Like explaining Star Trek movies to someone who used to watch Star Trek but doesn't anymore because only Lower Decks is good these days. So an Integra, it's got driving modes like normal mode for daily, do nothing driving, and then the sport mode is performance setting and throttle, and And they turn up the engine noise because they know you don't like being alone with your thoughts. And then there's comfort mode because you always gotta have comfort mode. And it's like you always have to have the Enterprise D, and you gotta have Worf there and Data. Even though Brent Spryder is getting older, so they make up reasons why, I don't know. An android ages now, I guess. So they get the old crew together, and they gotta do something because of the Borg or whatever, and then they get the one crusher, but not the other crusher, and they still gotta boldly go because the Enterprise D, and the people who don't like paying riders fairly need to make more money to pay off the call girls, and they should really have a punch clock on the Enterprise D, so they're just right there at the command bridge, and it's just Michael Dorn just showing up in half makeup and punching a card and reading his lines like he's thinking about the Cobb salad he's going to have the minute they get that makeup off his face, and wondering if this paycheck is going to be enough to overhaul the engine in his F-86 Sabre. Captain, the readings indicate... He doesn't have a growly voice, not really. Captain. The readings indicate to appear the Borg Queen is lactating a primitive Earth beverage known as Surge Cola. I can't do Michael Dorn. Suspension, good. Brakes, good. Engine, good. And I feel successful when I drive it. Look at me, I have a desirable car. But without 3 pedals and something to do with my right hand, this might as well be a BMW 325i. But I want something comfortable and classy to drive to work and go to dinner. Buy a used Lexus LS430. Buy a used Lexus LS430 from the 2000s. Buy one from 2005. One with 100,000 miles for $15,000. It'll go another 200,000 miles and be faster than this, and the seat doesn't absorb all the cum that you leak while driving. It's that good. There's your commuter car that also shows up correct. What is there to get excited about with the Integra when so much of it is hampered by its own mechanical operation? There's a potential for greatness with a manual, to the point that I could see the argument for being unable to defend experiencing it any other way, which is a shame because if it's a great car saddled with a CVT, it's 10 times better with the manual. It takes it to the next level. But right now, the only thing next level about it is it's more expensive than a Civic Si. It's around $33,000 with the A-Spec package. More than that if you want the tech package, where finally the manual transmission lives as well as adaptive suspension. But this is in comparison to the Civic Si's $28,000 ballpark, so you're paying for cosmetic features here. It's a glorified $3,000 fee for an automatic 4-door hatch and no satellite radio. And blacked out B-pillars. You're telling me I get an automatic dimming frameless rearview mirror. And ambient LED cabin lighting. Hold on. Let me go give notice to my landlord. Who needs a house when you can live in a Honda with ambient LED cabin lighting? Some positives? All right. It skips the SI's pumped-in engine noise, so that's a plus. It saves fuel by turning the engine off at full braking down a hill, but you can disable that in sport mode if you'd like. And as far as aesthetic goes, it isn't the eyesore you'd expect for a Civic trying to just class up for the joint. For his part, Matt had a 2019 Civic hatchback that he really liked, but he switched it out. He wanted to go electric with the Hyundai Kona EV, of course, the Homeowners Association. That boil on the unwashed ass of home ownership, they wouldn't let him set up a charging port outside his house, so he ditched the Kona and went looking for something Civic adjacent. And the salesman suggested this, and so the story ends, with this car having approximately 2,600 miles on it so far. A Civic Twin, with the same engine and horsepower and the same Honda architecture platform. It wants 91 octane, but it'll drink 87 and throw hands outside Trader Joe's. It's the car you get when you've outgrown Civics. Just like Honda planned. It's the automotive equivalent of getting your first Hershey's Special Dark in your Halloween bag. Oh, you're still eating sweet tarts? What are those, Smarties? That's bottom shelf, mid at best, Calvin. You need to find a step stool and get on my level pronto, or I can't be seen with you anymore. By 5th grade, I'm listening at you. Dads, listen up. By 5th grade, your kid better be preferring Hershey's Special Dark miniatures over every other Hershey miniature in their Halloween haul. Hershey's Special Dark is the fulcrum on which your child's maturity balances. It is the childhood equivalent of learning to like craft beer. If you and I are at a bar and you ask for a Miller Lite, Budweiser, or Yingling Flight, I'm not asking you any complex questions, because if you can't challenge your own palate, how can you enlighten my brain? And if I'm at your Halloween party and I see your bound for middle school offspring choosing the infantile sweetness of Hershey's Regular or Three Musketeers or Nerds Rope over the mature coming-of-age introductory adult tartness of Special Dark, well, I'm going to tell you to start saving that college savings account for yourself instead of on Junior there, because you have a Peter Pan man-child in the making. I know. I keep coming back around to the overwhelming feeling of disappointment with the new Integra and how I might have been naive to accept better. If I was offered the manual transmission one, this review would be totally different. Well, it would have more positivity, wouldn't it? I have felt the glory of the manual transmission, and I'm being denied it here. This car has the pedigree to be better across all trim levels. And the A-Spec technology package is an overpriced tease, like a mirage in a desert, constantly within reach but unobtainable. In a way, it's like losing the trust of your favorite teacher, the one who really liked you and believed in the best for you. You were turning in honest A-quality work until the pressure got to be too much one day and you cheated. Just that one time, but you got caught. And now the teacher's disappointment echoes across the semester because there's no trusting your work ever again. And the teacher is thinking back on all of your old work and wondering if all that was a lie too. Now you have to live with the guilt and the shame because it's high school. And there's no zero tolerance policy that would get you kicked out of it like you wouldn't be in college. But all you got is just a week of in-school suspension. You essentially got away with it, but because you're a good, honest kid at heart, you really didn't get away with it. You're being eaten from the inside by the knowledge that you could have been a better student. But in that crucial moment, you weren't. So for the next school week, you're stuck in the resource room or auditorium or hallway behind the stage, writing a biology paper on municipal tap water, all under the watchful totalitarian eye of Mr. McManus. But you can't work. The guilt is too much. You're stuck on silt is, while you reflect on how you disappointed someone you respected and potentially shook the faith in their own profession. Of course, Honda doesn't respect me to the point that my disappointment in their product would affect the way they do business. Companies aren't in the business of making decisions because one consumer felt they came up short. But I will say that while we may deliver them in a unique way, the opinions expressed on RCR are rarely unique in themselves. And if I feel like this car failed, I'm guessing other people probably think the same way too. And that's something Honda should be concerned about, even as it becomes clear that CVTs aren't going anywhere and manual transmissions aren't profitable for everybody. But it's still rough watching a student you liked go from A+ to A-Spec.